Hi, I'm Bill Peduto, Mayor of the City of Pittsburgh, and I'd like to thank Tim Stevens and the Black Political Empowerment Project for putting together this 8th Summit. This year is a little bit different. Obviously, this is virtual, and we can't be together, and we don't have that opportunity to network with one another. So instead of giving a lengthy speech, let me just get into where I think that we are historically at this moment and why it's very important that we not only watch and listen, but that we take action. We're at a historical moment in this country. There has not been the opportunity for change since 1968. And as we see the unrest throughout this country, it's because there is a demand for that change as well. Many times we associate it with the protesters, but in most of the times it's being said quietly in our own neighborhoods. It's being whispered in our corporate halls, in our labor halls. It's being talked about in our churches. It's the change around a system that has been created not in an equal fashion so that everybody has an opportunity, but in a way that is a systemic racist structure, a system that gives certain people opportunity and others a lack of, and it's all based on your zip code. So what we need to do in Pittsburgh is to be able, number one, to recognize it and call it out. Number two, to be able to quantify it and show where it exists. And number three, to have the courage to change it. And it has to happen well beyond the halls of government. It needs to happen in the corporate headquarters, on the construction site, within our police bureaus, and within every institution that we call our city. In the city of Pittsburgh, we're committed to making sure that opportunity is available to everyone, not only in employment, but in advancement. We work to make sure that our institutions are utilized to be able to strengthen and empower others, and to be able to make sure that individual people are at the heart of the changes that we're seeing in the city. Now, for most of Pittsburgh, we've seen an upturn in our economy and prosperity in this new economy. But for so many people in our city, they have no ladder of opportunity towards that. So we have to change. We have to change our structure of policies, and we have to create new programs to be able to broaden that opportunity. It really comes down to this. Do we have the courage as a city to recognize where there is disparity? Do we have the ability to measure it and to show exactly where it exists? And do we have that courage to be able to change? I believe we do. And I believe this is a window of opportunity that we're not going to have possibly again in our lifetime. So it's important we do it now. I'm committed to working with everyone who wants to build a more just Pittsburgh for all. And I'm willing to put the time and the resources into the ideas that can make that happen. Thank you for putting together this summit so we can have this conversation.
Hi, I'm Summer Lee, first Black woman state representative from Western Pennsylvania, which I am both honored and a little bit disappointed to hold such a title. But I am honored to be with you all here today at this important roundtable to talk about gender equity, to talk about racial issues, and all the other issues that we are really facing kind of head on right now in our region and our country, whether it's our pandemic, whether it's the racial uprising that we're having, or whether it's our election cycle, the issues that face not just Black folks, but specifically folks at those intersections. Black folks, Black women, Black trans folks, Black femmes. These are important issues that we know in Allegheny County, in the Pittsburgh region, we have to get serious about solving. So since I've been in office in the last 2 years, this has been something that I have centered my work around, but it's also something that's informed my work. As a Black person, as a Black legislator, that's not all that informs my work, but really my work is informed by my experiences and navigating society, navigating Pittsburgh as a Black woman. And it's so important that we meet those intersections, that we address those intersections, because what we've learned and what we've always known in Pittsburgh is that this is not the best region for Black women, that we don't have the best outcomes in this region for us. And it's incumbent upon anybody who's doing movement work, whether you're in government, whether you are an activist, whether you are a nonprofit leader, however you are serving in whatever capacity you're serving in, this is the issue that faces us, and we all have to meet it head on. Since I've been in office, I'm proud of the work that we've started to do. And of course, we haven't been able to move as far as we need to move because there are so many impediments. But some of the work that I've started to do, just really addressing issues that are oftentimes overlooked. Women in prison, our incarcerated population, we often focus on men. But what we know is that women are increasingly incarcerated. And when women are incarcerated, it impacts our entire community. These women are mothers and grandmothers, they're caregivers, they're breadwinners. And when we lose them to our carceral system, when we lose our mothers, we are losing such an integral part of our fabric of our community. So I was proud to introduce legislation that would provide alternative sentences for pregnant women. Legislation that would address trauma-informed care in prisons so that we're actually getting to the root of traumas that so many women and femmes and trans folks are facing that leads them into this system, rather pushes them into this system. I'm proud to have introduced just recently with one of my sister reps, our version, Pennsylvania's version of the Crown Act, which we know would address discrimination in hair, in Black hair, in natural hair. Something that seems so basic, but that we know Black girls and even Black boys who are being suspended from school because of the way that their hair naturally grows out of their heads. They're being made to feel othered, made to feel lesser than. Those are the messages and the signals that we're getting, even when we think about the different types of discriminations that we are facing as Black women and femmes. Other legislation that we're working on that is integral to our area is addressing police violence. Too often, police violence and the conversation around police violence is focused on our men. And that's important work. And it's important that we step up for our men. But we know that Black women are also likely to be killed or abused by police officers. In the state, we pushed and we fought just so that we can ensure that police officers can no longer abuse women in custody, no consent in custody. We're still fighting to get a use of force legislation passed that would include no knock warrants, that would include no chokeholds, that would include no shooting Black children in the back, so that we can ensure that Black and brown folks are safe in their communities, that they are safe and ensured that they're going to go home. That's legislation that we're facing. But finally, other issues that we have to come together to address, especially in Pittsburgh, the Black maternal mortality rate. That's an issue that's really close to me. That's an issue that's close to so many of us, because so many of us are facing that. I recently had a friend who passed away in childbirth. It was shocking, and it was really hard to grapple with, to see someone so young and vibrant lost to this epidemic. In Pittsburgh, we have some of the worst Black maternal mortality rates in our country. Of all what we call developed country, we have some of the worst infant and Black maternal mortality rates. And in a city that prides itself on its medical center, it is incumbent, it is important, it is imperative that we center this, that we solve this, that we figure this out, and that we protect Black women, whether it's been in the medical facilities, in medical care, whether it's in prisons in our carceral state, whether it's in our education system, whether it's in income inequality, whether it's in environmental justice. These are all issues that we have to focus on Black and brown women too, that we have to bring those intersections in the conversation, and that I'm proud to serve in that capacity. I hope that I'm not long to serve as the only Black woman from Western Pennsylvania, we know that we are not going to solve equity issues, that we are not going to have equity until Black and brown women, Black and brown trans women, Black and brown femmes, Black and brown girls are in every space, until they are leading and serving and legislating. We need to be in every one of those spaces. And as we fight to get there, as we organize our communities to get there, we are marching our community, we're marching our nation, we're marching our whole world one step closer to true justice, true equity, true freedom. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you all for your contributions, wherever you and however you are serving. It's been a pleasure to be with you today. And I look forward to all the great solutions that we're going to come up with, the great work that we're going to all do together. Thank you.
Greetings, County Executive Rich Fitzgerald here again, doing things obviously a little differently there as we come together virtually at the Corporate Equity and Inclusion Roundtable. This was a commitment that I made when I was running for County Executive in 2011. And over these last 9 years, we've had these roundtable discussions in which we've brought to the table our corporate community, our philanthropic community, our universities, our labor unions, government officials. And again, this year we're going to be doing it a little differently. Our great universities, and I want to thank Point Park University for being the host this year virtually. Over the years, Duquesne University has hosted a number of these events and great partners to those universities. President Gormley and President Hennigan of those two great universities, we appreciate their continued work. This is something that's so important. It's a core value of mine and my administration, because we know historically in this country, in our state, and in our region, there have been, the opportunities have not been equal, particularly for African Americans and people of color. And we want to make sure that we, in now time, in the present day time, is a community and a region that is open and opportunities for all. And I could just highlight some of the things that my administration has been able to do in the last 9 years. Over those 9 years, we've had the opportunity to hire 4,400 county employees. 1,100 of them have been African American, 25%. In a population of Allegheny County that is approximately 13% African American, so almost double the population of people that we have hired in my administration. 28% of those hires have been people of color, and over 60% have been women. So we've really tried to make sure opportunities in my administration have happened. And that doesn't just happen in all the hires, it also happens in the leadership positions that we have. Fully 16% of the directors and deputy directors who are leading the various departments and agencies in Allegheny County are African American. And the board appointments as well. The people who sit and make the policy-making decisions at the Airport Authority, the Port Authority, the SEA, and other various boards and authorities that we have in Allegheny County. Fully 19% of those board appointments are African American. So we want to make sure at the policy-making, throughout the employment, and the leadership, that African Americans have those opportunities. And we're proud of the fact that we're continuing to move forward. And our equity and inclusion continues to talk about things like our MBE, WBE department. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute and how we've actually made a change there. But during 2019, we made some great progress. We had over 230 counseling sessions during that year. 56 new firms were certified as MBE, WBE firms to bring our total to over almost 600 certified firms here in Allegheny County. But we made a change at the end of 2019 coming into 2020. We renamed and reconstituted the MBE, WBE department to become an equity and inclusion department. So it doesn't just deal with contracts, it actually deals with more of reaching out and helping even out in the private sector in places that we can, because we know it's not just about opportunities that occur within government contracts, government employment. It really is broader than that, and we need to make sure things like that happen. We have a lot of work to do. We've made some progress. One of the good things I've been proudest of is that for entrepreneurs in this region, this was rated as one of the top 10 entrepreneurial counties, regions in the country by Lending Tree magazine. We actually placed number 8 on the list, and that's, we would like to do even better than that. But one of the things we've done is we've had a higher percentage of folks who are entrepreneurs who are African American, and including entrepreneurs that have businesses with more than $500,000 of revenue, and also entrepreneurs and businesses that have been in business for over 6 years. So longevity, revenues, as well as the amount of entrepreneurs, we're beating the national average. We want to continue that record and continue to do the things we're doing. One of the things that we did this year through our Public Defender's Office was put a project in place called Project Reset. And what that allows, what Project Reset allows to happen, is to allow people to have their records expunged. And it's the many folks who have gotten something on their record that they probably should have never been put on there in the first place. To go through the process to get a record expunged is bureaucratic, it's cumbersome, and you need some legal expertise to do that. And for most people, it's a very difficult process. So our public defender has started with Elliot Halsey, who's now a common pleas court judge, and now Matt Dugan, a present-day public defender, leads a project in which people can find out if their record is eligible for expungement, and then we will go through the process to help that happen. And we've had over 100 already, and another 100 in the queue that will be expunged. And what that allows to have happen is when people go to get a job, when people apply for housing, when they apply for education, they don't have that record that's on there, that criminal record or some record on there that's going to prevent them from being able to have that opportunity. So. And unfortunately, in our society, many of the folks that affects are people of color and African Americans. So we want to make sure that we're able to help folks like that. But what this really is about is bringing people to the table, because what we do know is much about business and much about opportunities and contracts and purchase orders and those type of things happen because we buy from people that we know. We buy from people that we feel comfortable with. We buy from people in our community that we know have a good reputation. And when you're able to make those contacts between the buyer and the seller, and that's what we want to be able to do. We want to make sure that not only with the government contracts that we want to make sure opportunities, but in the private sector, in the nonprofits, our universities, all the folks that are out there doing business with other firms, we want to make sure that minority firms get a fair shot at getting that business. So this is an important initiative that we've been working on a number of years. Tim Stevens obviously has taken the lead on a lot of this, but so many of our corporate partners have stepped up and been part of it, from our healthcare, our energy sector, our IT sector, again, the meds and eds in our university and academia, our financial sector, our sports teams, et cetera, have all come to the fore and become part of this. So this is something we want to continue to do, continue to be proud of, and again, hopefully next year when we get together, we'll do it in person and be able to continue to move forward as a region. Congratulations again. Let's continue to work together, and let's continue to make Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, and southwestern Pennsylvania a region that's a region for all. Thanks.